Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today, I believe he's making his third return trip to the site. And it's because he has this great new record called Blue Love, which is coming out on March 23rd. And much like his previous work, Blue Love is just this glorious slice of New York City that you can only experience if you have it in your blood. And he certainly does. It's always a pleasure to welcome Lorne Behrman. Welcome back, Lorne.
Thank you. Oh, I should say that it comes out February 9th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big difference there. We'll take
Yeah.
it. Sooner the
Yeah. Okay.
better.
Yeah.
So now, before we get into the record itself, on your previous two releases, you came up with album covers that were sort of an homage to records you loved growing up. Did you do the same with Blue Love, or did you go a different route?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me move this. So for this record, I guess there is an homage to like Blue Note Records.
Mm,
Um, and that kind of world. I've always loved those records from the 60s.
mm,
And I thought it was kind of a cool this album has some jazzy elements, not necessarily jazz, but I thought it'd be just a cool approach, to honor that particular music that means so much to me. So yeah, that's a great question.
Now, the sound of the record too is amazing. You work with Matt Cavalli, who produced Joe Bonamassa, Warren Zevon, a million others, and he's a New York guy. What did Matt bring to your sound that really just opens it up the way this record is?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is that Matt's a perfectionist. And so we really went for like I mean, obviously I'm not the best singer, but he really went for as good as we could get it. And so he brought a certain like crispness to the record, clarity. I wanted production. I wanted it to be an album that sounded, both intimate and pristine. Also, he pushes me as a musician. He has a great ear, and as a guitar player, he like really pushes me to become a better guitar player. To come to the sessions with parts for the songs that are meaningful, as opposed to just kind of like let's see what happens. And to nail them, like really nail them. And this record, is definitely like I worked. It's a step higher in like the kind of the musicianship, and he also brings like a lot of these on all the releases I've done. They're intimate. They're like personal topics, and he creates an atmosphere that you feel safe and comfortable to explore things that you may feel like squeamish around other people, you may feel like self-conscious about singing about. And it's fun to work with him. And also he has like his tastes are so expansive. So like for me, like I was talking about Blue Note, like for me, like Blue Note Records, like 60s soul, girl group music, and punk rock, and like Steely Dan, like all those music, like to me, they all like they can all fit together.
Yeah.
And he could see that. So that's another thing.
Well, yeah, and it's funny hearing you describe the record because I think the first time you listen to it, it does have that sort of simplicity in its sound and very intimate. But the more you listen, you hear these layers and these complex arrangements in the background. And I think it's a huge step forward from your previous work. It's very adventurous. I think you hear like a little Phil Spector going there. I think you even hear some Brian Wilson on certain arrangements. Did you have this kind of cinematic thought in mind for these records, or did that come when you brought it to the studio?
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's such a great question, man. All that stuff you're saying, like I was thinking about that music, Pet Sounds, girl group. My wife sings on the album, and she comes from like a soul background. She's a woman of color, and she grew up in Motown and all that stuff. Um, and I came well, I think it's like it's hard to explain. Like I came in with all the guitar parts, like every solo, everything written. Like I could play everything to a metronome, and I had, ideas of things I wanted. But I'd also would say that like with this album, unlike previous albums, there's a lot of I think the guys I was working with really like inspired me.
Mhm.
Like, for example, our keyboard player, Steve Mosto, he's a great vocalist. I mean, just phenomenal singer. And he years ago he was on Mary Tyler Moore Records. He did some like he put out an album as a band, and he's just phenomenal. Kind of like I think it was like it was like Hall and Oates type stuff that he did in the '80s. And he really helped with the backups. He kind of helped like I think he helped give ideas, and my wife had ideas. I think we all kind of had idea. I knew I wanted like other voices to be involved, and Steve Mosto really helped with that, and so did my wife, and then Matt, also, always helps with that. How do we how do these bedfellows kind of work together, and to make it cohesive, and he is very good at kind of like his mixing, like, not to get too nerdy, but his mixing is so perfect. Like, he knows how to mix things to sound so cohesive. So different styles that seem like totally worlds apart really kind of fit together in a very organic way. So I think I would say that it was that particular sound was a kind of a collaboration in a sense, between Matt, Steve, and Danielle, and myself, but I knew I wanted to bring those flavors into it. I knew 'cause that's music that I love.
Lyrically, you've always been an open book. I mean, as you've said before, a lot of times it's kind of tough to get into some of those personal topics, but and you've always written about issues that have gone on in your life. In that sense, for you, is songwriting a type of therapy that helps you deal with, process, and move on from those traumas?
Yeah, that's a great question,
Mhm,
Jeff. It does, like when I write a song, a lot of times what comes to mind is like, now I don't have to feel that feeling anymore.
mhm,
Like I wrote that song and like it's weird. It's like almost like as soon as it comes out and it's released, I'll be able to not feel that feeling anymore.
mhm,
And so I can, again, all those songs, they all have certain feelings that like I just didn't want to feel
yeah.
anymore. And then like new feelings pop up. And then I'm like, okay, I don't want to feel that feeling anymore. How do I address that? Well, I'm gonna write a song. Yeah.
But I think this record, though, probably more so than your previous work, goes beyond just the personal. I mean, a track like, Barbara or the Bellevue song, they're just these fun looks into New York life that a lot of people don't even remember existed.
Yeah.
So outside of your personal, feelings, where do you get your lyrical inspiration from? Movies, music, the
Yeah.
city itself?
Yeah. I mean,
Mm,
that's a great point. I tried on this record. I d- I wanted to not only write about myself,
mhm,
and it's fun to write about. I challenge myself as like I wonder if could be a storyteller and tell other stories than myself, and if it would be as compelling. And I guess the rule would be is that I have to feel it.
mhm,
You know, like you see a movie or you hear a song and it makes you cry. It's like you maybe didn't live through that narrative, but somehow that connects with you. So like a song like Barbara was really influenced by Panic at Needle Park,
mhm.
the '70s movie with Al Pacino and stuff, and then the idea of couples that get together and they both have kind of like toxic addictions, and so it's written about that, and I really, you know I felt that, but I also wanted to convey something that's cinematic. And
Mm,
then like the Bellevue song, I mean, I've been to Bellevue. I know people have been to Bellevue, and both those songs that you just mentioned, there's like a New York City experience
mhm,
that I mean, I'm sure it's still out there, that you can have that's like, you fall down, an angel picks you up, you fall down, you end up in a shitty motel, you end up in the hospital, something happens, it passes. And I just wanted to convey that kind of that like that transience. Like, the album, like the title Blue Love is about like holding two emotions. Like
mhm,
on one hand, you're holding love, on the other hand, it's like this like blue, this sadness, this desperation, and you can hold these both of these things. You can hold pain, you can hold joy almost simultaneously. And to me, like the heart of New York, that's what it feels like, you know?
Well, and that's one thing that I find compelling about your lyrics all the time is that you every song has that crack that has the glimmer of hope in it. And is it a struggle at times to make sure that the song has that? You know, if you
Yeah,
ever done it and be like, yeah, that's just too dark. There's no redemption in it.
that's a great question. That's a really great question, man. You know, I can get really dark and depressed, you
Mm,
know, and I could go like full on. And I think that I put those lights, you know, those glimmers of light in there for myself. You know, I don't want it to be, you know, like when I hear music that's just about being down, like, you know, it's I feel it so much that like I need like some redemption.
mhm,
And so I put it, it's never I put it in there. I mean, you know, there are songs that don't make albums that I kind of toss away that are like, you know, poor me, you know, I'm so upset, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I don't feel like, you know, like that's not my terrain, you know. I want to leave people with hope, you know, and I want to give myself hope. Like, hey, these characters, you know, they're gonna make it out, you know, you're gonna make it out, you know, or you know, so there is always redemption, I guess, in my
mm.
songs.
And it's funny because you know when I talk to a lot of artists, I love talking about writing. And, you know, there's always that thing of, well, you know, you could write a song that's so specific about a topic, but yet if you do it the correct way, everyone will see themselves in some part of that story. And I think with this record, you achieve that. You know, people may not have gone through anything that you're writing about, but because of sort of that arc in it, you see yourself.
Wow. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, thank you. That's a big
Mm,
compliment. That's what I really, you know, like I feel like the music that I come from, the lineage I come from, you know, and the world I come from, I've always had to say, like, my music, oh, you know, I'd be out with people. I'm like, oh, you may not get it because, you know, it comes from like Johnny Thunders or all
mm,
these specific references, you know, and um, I wanted to make music this time that people could that I wanted to be like anyone could feel it, you know, I just you know I wanted like you know like just someone who just I don't know just likes you know very you
mm,
know middle of the road music to be able to
mm,
like I could feel like just as great you know there's so many great movies that are pieces of art and they speak to that, but they speak to masses, you
mm.
know? And so I that was like my hope that this would be an album that would be like, you know what? You don't have to have like a degree in New York City rock and roll music to appreciate and to feel it.
Exactly. Now, Blue Love, as we said, it's your second full length release, and you have the EP, and you have a lot of other songs that you've played on and done. Um, you play quite a few shows around New York, but now that your catalog is growing and you could really put a strong set together, do you see yourself hitting the road and playing some shows outside of the city?
Yeah, I would love that, you know, and that's something, I mean, if anyone listening, you know, wants to, you know, help out or has ideas, you know, the truth is that it's hard to build something,
Mm,
you know, even though I've been in a lot of bands, it's like I'm always it's like when you start over, you kind of start over.
mhm,
And so, you know, my life is such that like I can go on the road and I've gone on the road and I want to go on the road. And I want to share this music with people. It's just kind of like finding the infrastructure, you know,
mm,
people that can help book the shows, you know, and then just, you know, getting the music out there, like people in other cities hearing it, you know, I say in my mind, I'm like, look, if I have the demand and the infrastructure, I'll go anywhere.
mm,
You know, I just, yeah, I need people to, you know, that in Connecticut or wherever they are, Westchester, to say, we want you to come here.
mm.
I'll be there in a second, you know?
And you have definitely just grown and evolved so much as an artist, even from the first time we spoke way back with the EP. What do you see in your future? Are there certain people you want to write and collaborate with? Are there certain projects you'd like to eventually do?
Yeah.
Tours? What do you see coming up?
Yeah, I would like to do tours, you
Mm,
know, I would like to, I'd like to do, you know, I'd like to get this to a point where like it's self-supporting. I could keep
Mhm,
putting out records and not kind of, break my bank paying for it, you know. I have a third record almost written, Um, you know, r- it took me a long time to figure out what I'm good at in music. I came up as a lead guitarist and I never sang, I never really wrote
mhm,
songs. I just wrote like parts of music, or I wrote like a few songs, but I wasn't the singer, or
mhm,
lyricist. And now I'm finding it, so I would like to write with people, for me, for my records, I kind of just love writing by myself because
mhm,
I spent 30-something years collaborating with people. I want to have this real estate, or this is my voice, but I love to write with people for their projects or for
mhm,
other projects, people that there's so many artists out there that move me. I'd love to work with, and play on people's albums, provide, like they like what I do, because the aesthetic I know isn't for everyone. But yeah, just
mhm,
keep growing, and keep getting better as a songwriter.
mhm. Definitely. Well, we've been spending some time here with Lorne Behrman. The record is called Blue Love. The release date is now February 9th, coming up. So, Lorne, it's always a pleasure to have you on here. Keep it up. Just best of luck. I love what you do. I love hearing it, and hopefully we can get it out there to some other people as well.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks
Yeah.
for the time. Thanks for the great questions. It's an
Mm.
honor to be here.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.